Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a breaking and deeply alarming development that has sent shockwaves across the Middle East. Israel has launched massive airstrikes on Lebanon following the sudden collapse of the ceasefire agreement that was supposed to ease tensions along the volatile border. What began as a fragile truce has now shattered, reigniting one of the most dangerous flashpoints in the region. Reports are coming in of heavy bombardments targeting areas in southern Lebanon, with Israeli fighter jets striking suspected Hezbollah positions in what appears to be one of the largest military operations in months. According to multiple sources, the airstrikes began shortly after midnight, following a series of rocket attacks fired into northern Israel. Israeli defense officials claim that Hezbollah crossed the red line by breaching the ceasefire terms and launching missiles toward civilian areas. In response, Israel initiated what they described as a full-scale retaliatory campaign to eliminate the threat. The scenes on the ground are nothing short of chaos, explosions lighting up the night sky, plumes of smoke rising from villages, and civilians scrambling for shelter. The border region has once again turned into a war zone. Lebanese media outlets report widespread panic as Israeli warplanes continue to circle overhead. Several residential neighborhoods have been hit, and power outages have been reported in multiple cities. The Lebanese government has condemned the airstrikes, calling them an act of aggression, and warning that this could drag the entire region into a larger conflict. Hezbollah, meanwhile, has vowed to respond decisively and without restraint. Their fighters have reportedly begun mobilizing across the southern front, and clashes have been reported near the border villages of Aitaroun and Meroun al-Raz. The collapse of the ceasefire came after weeks of rising tension and mutual accusations between both sides. Israel had accused Hezbollah of using the truce to regroup and rearm, while Hezbollah claimed Israel was violating the terms by carrying out reconnaissance flights and minor cross-border raids. International observers had warned that the truce was extremely fragile, and now those fears have been realized. What's unfolding now could easily escalate into a full-blown war that neither side may be able to control. In Tel Aviv, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who addressed the nation, stating that the airstrikes were a necessary and justified response to Hezbollah's aggression. He declared that Israel will not tolerate attacks on its citizens and vowed to restore security through strength. The Israeli Defense Forces released footage showing precision strikes on what they claim were Hezbollah rocket launchers, command centers, and ammunition depots. However, the Lebanese side argues that many of these strikes have hit civilian infrastructure, including roads, hospitals, and schools. The humanitarian impact is already severe, with thousands of people reportedly fleeing their homes. The situation is drawing urgent international attention. The United Nations has called for both sides to exercise restraint and return to negotiations. The United States has urged de-escalation, but has reiterated its support for Israel's right to self-defense. Meanwhile, Iran has condemned the Israeli airstrikes, warning that continued aggression will not go unanswered. Tehran's statement has raised new fears that the conflict could spill over into a wider regional confrontation involving multiple actors, including Syria and Iraq. Eyewitnesses from Lebanon describe the bombings as relentless. The sound of jets fills the air, followed by deafening blasts that shake entire neighborhoods. Emergency services are struggling to keep up with the rising number of casualties. Hospitals in Tyre and Nabati are overwhelmed, with doctors treating the wounded in hallways and parking lots. Lebanese officials are pleading for international aid, warning that if the bombings continue, the civilian toll could become catastrophic. On the Israeli side, life near the northern border has come to a standstill. Communities are under lockdown, and residents have been ordered into bomb shelters as Hezbollah rockets continue to fall. The Israeli military has deployed additional Iron Dome batteries to intercept incoming missiles, but several rockets have managed to breach the defense system, causing damage to homes and infrastructure. The fear of a ground invasion is growing, as Israeli tanks and artillery units have been spotted moving toward the border. This escalation marks one of the most dangerous moments since the 2006 Lebanon War. Analysts are warning that both Israel and Hezbollah appear determined to prove their strength, even if it risks dragging the entire region into chaos. The conflict comes at a time when Israel is already engaged in operations in Gaza and facing international criticism over its military tactics. For Lebanon, the timing couldn't be worse. The country is already suffering from a severe economic crisis, political instability, and widespread public discontent. A new war could devastate what remains of its fragile infrastructure. The diplomatic front is equally tense. France has called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, while Russia has blamed the escalation on what it calls reckless Israeli actions. The European Union is urging both sides to immediately halt hostilities and return to dialogue, but on the ground, the momentum of war seems unstoppable. Each side believes it is defending its own people, and each strike only fuels the next retaliation. The rhetoric coming from both sides is fiery and uncompromising. Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, declared in a televised speech that the resistance will not be silenced, and that the enemy will pay a heavy price. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant responded by saying that Hezbollah is dragging Lebanon into destruction, and warned that any attack on Israel would result in a response of unprecedented magnitude. These statements have left little room for compromise. As the airstrikes continue, the humanitarian crisis deepens. Thousands of Lebanese civilians are trapped in conflict zones, with limited access to food, water, and medical care. International aid agencies are preparing for a potential refugee crisis as people flee toward Beirut and the northern regions. The images emerging from the ground, burning buildings, injured children, and grieving families are heartbreaking. Yet, despite the growing outcry, the bombardments show no sign of slowing down. Military experts suggest that Israel's current campaign may be aimed at degrading Hezbollah's rocket capabilities before they can mount a larger offensive. Satellite imagery shows widespread destruction across key Hezbollah-controlled areas, but the group's arsenal is believed to be vast and well hidden. Hezbollah has already demonstrated its ability to strike deep into Israeli territory, and many fear this conflict could expand into a prolonged war of attrition. The question now is whether diplomacy can intervene before it's too late. The UN peacekeeping mission in southern Lebanon, known as UNIFIL, has confirmed that several of its observation posts have been hit by stray fire. They are calling for both parties to respect international law and avoid civilian areas, but on both sides, anger and distrust run deep. Years of violence, political tension, and mutual suspicion have eroded any real chance for lasting peace. As night falls again over the region, the roar of warplanes continues to echo across the skies. The people of Lebanon and Israel are once more caught in a cycle of violence they did not choose. Families huddle in basements, listening to the sound of distant explosions. Soldiers on both sides brace for what may come next. And around the world, governments are watching anxiously, knowing that what happens here could reshape the balance of power in the Middle East. This is not just another border clash. It's a pivotal moment that could redefine regional stability for years to come. The collapse of the ceasefire has exposed how fragile the peace truly was, and how quickly decades of diplomatic effort can unravel in a single night. Whether this crisis leads to another all-out war or a reluctant return to negotiations will depend on the next few days. For now, the skies over Lebanon burn with fire, and the hope for peace grows dimmer with every passing hour. As the situation continues to evolve, we'll be monitoring every development closely. The world is watching how Israel, Lebanon, and their allies respond to this escalating conflict. One miscalculation, one strike too far, could ignite a chain reaction across the Middle East. Stay tuned for more updates as this story unfolds. This is the breaking point in one of the world's most volatile regions. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates as this conflict develops. The situation is changing rapidly, and we'll continue bringing you the latest analysis, reports, and insights right here on the channel. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.